May I call to order this meeting of the Plain Township Board of Trustees, if everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before us, we have the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads at this time?
I need to remove special meeting approval.
Okay. And then also let the record reflect trustee Harlowitz had a previously scheduled trip. So, and then as well, Rob Steinberg's excused vacation, and then Lisa's out, recovering from a procedure. Okay. No further changes. The agenda will stand as amended. First item, we have the sheriff's report.
You ready for it?
Yep.
Fortunately, you get me, sorry. Captain Carter's away at training, so I'm gonna play Captain Carter. Probably not. You guys assume you have all the report, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is for June, calls for service up just a little bit, about 3.5. Crashes severely up, as you see, 137%. Crashes with injury up a little bit, 60%. We know that's going to happen with the stay in town holiday weekends and coming up and everything. Alarms down, which is a good thing. Probably going to go up after this week's storms and everything, but we'll worry about that next month. Traffic stops, you can see that's the big thing. That's our big focus is back to traffic, to getting out there, enforcing everything we can in the problem areas, and we even got extra cars out on the weekends, on Fridays and Saturday nights. We got extra two-man cars out every Friday, Saturday night from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So they're doing a lot of stuff. Assisting a lot with Jackson over in the Whipple area, Belton Village area, so we're getting a lot of stops out of that. Citations is up 59.3%. Arrests is up because, let's face it, when you do traffic stops, you do arrests too, because you get the warrants. Vacation checks, we did 493 of them. The detective's report, 20 cases assigned, and we closed 11 with 5 arrests, 5 motor vehicle thefts. That seems to be the big thing right now, is the motor vehicle thefts. It's happening everywhere, and most of the reasons it's happening is because people are leaving cars unsecured and keys in. So, pretty much they make cars anymore where you can't take them without a key. So, that's a
We
big problem.
preach till we're blue in the, I mean, as well as you guys preach till we're blue in the face.
Yeah, it don't matter how
About
many times.
securing the doors, leaving purses and wallets out of sight, so.
Correct. As you can see, we did a sex offense, 2 thefts, death investigation, that's normally, is probably overdose related, receiving stolen properties, which was come out of a vehicle theft, and suspicious activities. The next graph is June, from June 20 to June of 2021. You see our calls for service is up a little bit, crashes is up a lot. Crashes with injury is up just a little bit. Alarms sort of coming down a little bit, but you see the big one, like I said, traffic stops, and that's been the focus on the guys when during the downtime, during no time, just get out and run the problem areas that we got reports on in traffic, and they're going good. Citation numbers are up and arrest numbers are up. Basically June, when you compare it to what we've had going all the way back to 2016, we're right about above just a little bit where we were in years past.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Sorry. I apologize, Rich, I got a little trigger happy here on the agenda out of practice. So the next item we'll go to is the 604 McKinley development discussion. So in that spirit, Rich will turn it over to you, and essentially this is a follow-up conversation to Fountains it at?
Yeah, it's Fountains at Edgewood. Name's Rich Costin, representing McKinley Development tonight. We're here asking for a modification to the PUD portion of Fountains at Edgewood. So, try not to stand in front of it, I'll use a pointer if everybody can see, if everybody can, just let me know. On the right-hand side is what was approved. And I'm going to walk over there and just kind of point out the PUD. The whole property is now a PUD. It was mainly just the northern and center part was PUD. The rest of it is just straight R1 zoning, and we're not asked to modify anything there. So again, this here is the PUD. Comes down. And so those are all the smaller lots. That's what we're asking to modify. So what on the right hand is what is approved today, and on the left hand side is what we're proposing to modify. And if you see the road alignment is what we're asking to change. You can see right now it kind of comes and goes all the way over to the east. And the reason we were asking for this modification here, if you go out there, they've been very successful in selling the villa homes, which are the smaller ones. They sold out of phase 1 in about a year. We just did phase 3. They just paved the street, and we're still doing our final utilities, and they've already sold 6 over there. What we've struggled with is the larger lots in the R1. So we looked at the project, and we want to create connectivity, which is ultimately what we're supposed to do. So we're trying to connect these larger lots, which was always the case, to where the community center is in the center, and kind of get more out to the main entrance out on Market Street. So if we were to stick with the original plan, this phase over here to get that connection would take longer. It would be farther down the road. So we figured out that in our next phase, which will be our phase 4, if we can modify the street, we can get a quicker connection. And again, connect these larger lots that we have down here in the R1 up to the community center and out to Market Street. So I will note to you that we did gain 2 more lots in the PUD than we had before. That was just accidental. That was not what the driving factor was. Again, it was the connectivity to try to get the larger lots connected to the rest of the project. So I think that's generally all I have, but I'm here obviously for any questions and concerns. This has been through regional planning. They gave their nod to it. I believe Road and Fire has looked at it. I have not gotten any comments back that anybody was, didn't like the idea of it. It's still, the intent is still there, and we're not moving the PUD line. It was just a modification within inside the PUD.
Essentially, the street connectivity is moving just slightly less is what it equates to.
That is correct.
Yeah, we're doing away with cul-de-sacs. We don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Chuck, do you
And
have
it
any?
actually helps us a little bit, because now I don't have to, it gives me 2 egress points, and then it's a little bit shorter to come in and make the bend versus going all the way up and around to get back to, so for us, it doesn't cause any problems.
And is that stone crossing all the way to the south?
Yeah, Stone Crossing is right across the south.
Yeah, on the bottom here.
Tom, do you have anything that needs to be?
No, it seems like a good plan to me, and I like the idea of being able to have the fire department have that shorter route into the development if that main road is clogged.
Again,
It's actually a little more off the properties to the east. Yeah, I think so. That's what, yeah. I would for now.
Yeah.
And now.
All right. Is there anybody in the audience that has any specific questions regarding this topic? Okay, seeing none, that will, no further questions. That'll close out the McKinley development discussion. Then as far as the actual action takes part, just here a little later in the agenda under zoning 4. So going back to our normal Agenda items, unfinished business. Turn this over to Law Director Williams.
Yes, thank you. Item number one is a resolution that will come before you regarding a home rule ticket. Looks like it's barking dogs and relates to a Ms. Jones.
They were our last
Yeah,
last meeting.
Oh,
well, they
okay.
were over
Yeah.
at 3.
Yeah.
Captain Carver researched a little further, so I'll make a motion to move on unfinished business number one.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number two is with regard to our road levy. I spoke with counsel for the Board of Elections, and we've made a couple of language changes in two places particularly. I'll draw out to you the heading that's all caps there. We needed to add the road district as opposed to, we had it as the Plain Township itself. And then we also wanted to repeat that in the heading for the actual ballot language. We wanted to make it Plain Township Road District, Plain Township, Stark County, Ohio. So that is the reason it's here before you tonight, it's just those wording changes.
I'll also move on unfinished business number two.
Second,
Discussion,
so that just defines, because we call that road district anyhow, when we do budget and everything else.
And it actually is the road district. It's
Yeah.
not, doesn't exactly line up exactly with our borders for various reasons, but it is the road district.
Perfect.
further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. Okay, next, the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number one is a resolution to authorize the payment of pending warrants amount of $1,712,332.45.
I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, just to clarify, this is significantly greater than our average monthly, but we've got, what, we're 70-80% of the way done with asphalt paving
Actually,
probably.
we're closer to 90 with grinding.
Wow.
We could get done this week if the weather holds up.
Totally done.
They've been working at it as much as they can.
Middle of
That's
July.
Crazy.
So, okay, no further discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number two is a resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number three is a resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number four is the financial report for June.
If anybody's got questions, feel free to see Tom or his office afterwards.
Fiscal Officer number five is a resolution to set a public hearing for the 2022 alternative tax budget on July 27, 2021 at 6:15 p.m. and to further authorize Plain Township Fiscal Officer to publish a notice of public hearing in the repository at least 10 days prior to the hearing.
So moved.
Second, discussion, we'll see a copy of that here. Here's
Yeah.
just to review prior to that hearing.
Mhm.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number six is a resolution to enter into contract with Sedgwick to provide the services as detailed in the service contract, which is attached here to and be a part of these minutes, and to approve payment of the administrative fee at a cost not to exceed $3,975 to be paid as follows.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7A is a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers of expenses
I'll
To-
move. Oh, sorry.
to the Coronavirus Relief Fund.
I'll move on 7A.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer 7B is a resolution to authorize the following transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 8 is a resolution to amend Resolution 21-211 and authorize the payment of additional $840 for a total of $121,913 to be paid from Fund 10A14 for our OTARMA insurance.
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 9 is a request for a liquor license from Rack It Up Arcade LLC located at 3208 Whipple Avenue, Canton, Ohio 44718.
As far as from the sheriff's office, do you guys have any concerns over that area? Or do we need to hold it till next meeting?
Just never know what arcade means, but I guess we'll have to look.
It's actually in,
Yeah, it's a retro arcade.
yeah,
It's over by the grinders on Whipple.
Yeah, it's in that stretch.
it's like 80s, 90s style
Yeah.
Pinball, video games.
pinball.
That's right in my alley.
Yeah.
What, retro or?
We'll talk later.
Do we want to sit, or, I mean, that area over there in general, we haven't historically had
No.
issues with, so, I mean, we've always got the opportunity, if
Right.
issues start to come up, we can push it through the state with the Division of Liquor Control and so forth.
Yeah.
All right,
I would say.
let it move forward.
Okay. And that concludes the fiscal officer report.
Okay, next item, the administrator, false alarms. Let's see here. I also move on administrator number 1,
Second.
discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Okay. Takes us to the fire department, chief.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report, pre-review. Do you have any questions?
Is it the PSC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are always a mess.
That's a frequent violator. Okay, no questions?
Thank you. Item number 2 is a resolution by Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment for ballistic vests from Black Cloud Ops not to exceed $3,600.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, chief. It's gonna take us to the road department. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is June's monthly report.
A lot of time and effort on the paving side of things.
Yeah. We haven't been this close to being done, this close in the summertime.
Last year?
Last year, we were pretty much at about the same side.
Okay.
We were getting worried because the weather's been
Yeah.
so bad, but they've been staying at it.
Well, even today, over there by, the middle school, that short strip, I can't think of the road name right now, they were grinding, it was still pouring, and I mean,
Yeah.
They can do that in the rain, they just can't pave it or anything.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up.
okay.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to contract with JD Striping and Service for the 2021 pavement marking program, not to exceed $37,033.15.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize purchase and payment to McIntosh Oil for gasoline, oil, and diesel not to exceed $25,000.
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase and payment to truck sales and service for parts needed to repair dump truck number 3 not to exceed $5,617.68.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the payment to Alliance Motors for the installation of a truck cab assembly on Truck 20 or tandem, not to exceed the amount of $3,959.57.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 6 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the posting of permanent no parking signs on both sides of the road on Curry Court between 38th Street and 40th Street Northwest.
So moved.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 7 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees with, by the virtue of the provisions of section 4511-21 of Revised Code of Ohio, the Township Trustees have determined the highway superintendent has declared a reasonable and safe speed limit of 25 miles an hour on the section of road described as Curry Court.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, just to verify, 25 miles per hour for the record is the lowest a township road can be set. So for the public inquiries of getting it down to 15 miles per hour,
That's what we tried to do.
It's,
It's the county engineer, he said.
not possible. Okay, any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 8 is just an update on Butler Avenue closure. It was supposed to happen yesterday. It's more than likely going to happen tomorrow, depends on the weather, and it'll be for 6 weeks. The detour has been set. I drove it. It's fine. It's been put in the paper, so we've only got one call, and that resident was fine so far. I don't know if Rich got any calls or not, so.
Okay. So that concludes road. Takes us to the zoning department. Tom?
Thank you, sir. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
Between zoning and parks, you guys are probably gonna be hopping for a little while with all this,
Yeah.
right?
You betcha.
Rain and-
Doesn't slow the grass down, that's for sure.
Next.
Item number 2 is a resolution to declare items A through E as nuisance abatements.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to declare items A through C as abatement payments.
So moved. So moved, trustee Sabo. I'll second. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution to approve a revision to the Fountains of Edgewood Development Plan. The requested revision would involve eliminating the cul-de-sac at the south end of Harrington Court Avenue Northeast and extending Harrington Court Avenue Northeast to intersect with Southbrook Circle Avenue.
So moved. Zoning number 4.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning.
Thank you, Todd. Parks Department, all we have is the monthly report, and Rob's out. Getting a trip, so if anybody's got any questions, we'll have to get with you once we return. I'm assuming that given the splash pads to cover the
Yeah.
report that's been popping up during the day,
I was
during the day, given the amount of humidity.
by a couple
so-
times on some buses.
Wow. Okay, next takes us to, it's nothing here, the law director, nothing here, communications, brings us to the portion of the meeting, public speaks. If there's anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board of trustees, we ask that you state your name and address for the fiscal officer for the record, and then present your point.
Do I have a time limit?
Typically, it's 3 minutes, but we'll
Okay, thank you. My name is Meryl Jonas, M-A-R-Y-L-J-O-N-A-S. I live at 3019 Chaucer Drive Northeast, Canton, 47221. I'm here asking for a proactive measure for traffic, or speed control on Chaucer Drive. It is a 25-mile-an-hour limit. There is one traffic control device at the corner of Brookwood and Chaucer. It's down here in Sherwood,
It's actually that way.
whichever way.
So we don't, that's
We're going
okay.
south.
That doesn't cut into
I'm
your time.
oriented north, okay. Anyway, it's at Wickliffe, so that's about 2/10 in. So you've got 8/10, that sweeping right curve, and it is, it's a 4-lane road technically, when you look at it, and people take it like it's the backstretch of the Indy 500. I live 4 houses south of the intersection of York, so I am just off the curve. And so you have basically 5 opportunities to place a traffic control device. You have one at Wakefield, one at York, one at Merrick, one at Englewood, and one at Saxon. I'd go for 2 of them, your choice. I'm aware that people are going to look at this as sort of a yield sign, but it might slow them down enough. It's an area that has a lot of people who are out in the summer, they're walking, they have children on bicycles, children on their feet, they have dogs, they're elderly people who are walking, some of them who are using assistive devices. What we really don't need is to find out that we have a resident who gets mowed over by some kid who's cutting through and is going 50, comes up, doesn't see them fast enough, and takes them out. I think it's a pretty reasonably priced way to control the traffic.
I'll take, you guys keep me honest here. I meant to tell you, we get the frustration, but stop signs are not considered a means for controlling speed, and they can't just be put up. The state, through the Ohio Department of Transportation, has rules. In fact, Joe, at one point in the past, and I know this was probably long before I was ever here, I don't know, there were certain parts of the township where signage had been removed at some point due to the law and the requirements. So unfortunately, putting stop signs up is not an option. The speed's already posted at the lowest speed that can be set in the township. So, and the sheriff, I think you heard some of the numbers earlier, we could literally tax or give the opportunity for the public to tax themselves till there was no money. It still would not provide enough resources to police the entire area, because whether I would point at Marquardt, Firestone, what's the big main one up there? Bobbling, Starcliffe. Similar arguments with some very similar dynamics. We've escalated on a multitude of occasions. I mean, through the Stark County Engineer's office, who then gets with ODOT District 4, and it's the same thing every time, because the only way that gets changed is if the state legislators, create any legislation that would change that. So, outside of setting a speed trailer back in there, which only is temporary, yeah. I'm just shooting you straight as to what the options are, and really it's from a policing aspect, and I mean the sheriff typically is rotating around, so whether it's Chief Oliver back there or it's Captain Carver, those guys at the beginning of shifts are constantly, hey, here's the new reports, here's the new numbers. Again, we have a responsibility with the fixed number of bodies to rotate them and not sit them at any one specific place for a prolonged period of time. So, and in the past, we've taken a look, or we've been approached about asphalt speed bumps. That's a nightmare on a number of fronts, from road maintenance purposes. I think the last time we tried looking at something was, what were those? Were they called table grids, or was it just something that had to do with striping that created a visual
Yeah.
But we had reached out to a couple other communities and said it could change zero.
Zero changes.
It was a pain on the road, so this
The
is,
law says that you can't use stop signs to enforce speed, is what the problem is. I mean, like Scott has said, we've gotten many requests for this. So even if we wanted to, or the board wanted to add stop signs, the sheriff can't enforce it because it's not, it's against the law. So we have our speed buggies we can put out there periodically. I mean, probably as many patrols as the sheriff can afford to get somebody out there. But,
Well, putting the speed sign out there is a waste of your fuel and your manpower. Because I think people go by and see how fast they can go past.
sure that
oh, there's some of that, and we see those in the outlier reports, but I would tell you, a majority of them are within probably 2 to 3 miles of the speed limit. The frustrating part about why that road is like it is, I mean, just a little history here. That was intended, like, once you get over by 55th, how there's the boulevard as you're coming in. As I understand it, that was intended to be placed through that entire area. At some point, though,
The developer just decided not to put it in, and I don't believe, John, you might have been here, but regional planning wasn't even there to enforce that at that point. I don't-
Yeah, because actually that other end was
That was
done after. Chaucer was the first one that went in and it was super wide. With the
We don't
intention.
like the width of it neither.
No, yeah.
so far, so miserable.
Paving purposes, you really
A lot of
don't.
maintenance.
So, I mean, unfortunately, I don't know,
What time of day is this normally happening, ma'am? Is there a certain time?
No, there's not a certain time. It is whenever people are, well, I would say in the morning out and the morning, or the evening in is a big time for that.
Okay.
I've spoken with a deputy once when he was coming through about it, and he had said that they had one of the speed signs up. I didn't remember ever seeing it. I'm in and out daily, and I didn't remember the last time when it had been placed on Chaucer.
How about if we try this, Joe? Can we tag team next week? Your speed trailer and mine
I got two, I could put one on.
simultaneously,
I could
and then
put-
I'll put a traffic car up there.
All right,
And
yeah, we
we'll
can
see
do that.
what I can, you know what I mean? We'll try it. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Maybe we can send a message. We'll try that, and then if not, he's got your information. I'll have him, this is Detective Little, I'll have him reach out for follow-up to see if we're making any difference on it. If not, then we'll go to Plan B. We won't stop.
It's just, I worry more about the people, especially the kids on the bikes, because they're small, and not all of them are wearing helmets. The parents aren't always the most observant, and you really don't want to see that. I know one day I was driving up on Englewood, and the kids were coming out of a driveway, and, I hit the brakes as soon as I saw them, and, because by the time that they stopped, I'd hit one at least. And it just is worrisome to me that I see that, and, who wants to
yeah,
kill your
it's just
neighbors?
for
I-
additional
I
context, we
totally
do
agree.
take it serious because I know it's probably been 2 or 3 years ago when Chaucer comes off of Middle Branch and where it really starts to
Descend.
bend around.
Okay.
There was, I'm trying to think, it's a split level, I forget what the cut through street is, over to Linder, but literally a car went up through the front yard,
Yeah, that's.
and that's where they put the fence in. Yeah, okay, so it is.
Right.
Yeah, there's a stop sign right now at Whitecliff, heading that way.
But it's free reign out.
But after that, it's free.
And you've got about 8/10.
Well, we could put both my buggies out there going in each direction Monday morning, and John have patrol out and see what we can do, so we get the message across.
And just for sake, I mean, this isn't just a, hey, we'll do the speed buggy, we can get the timing and the volumes and so forth. because that stuff typically doesn't change within these residential allotments. But, you know, clearly, based upon the traffic, let's see, traffic stops up 753% from last year. We can use that as one of the regular, or as we referred to earlier, the hot spots. Because if people just keep getting nailed, it'll hopefully, it's not gonna deter everybody, but you'll never know, okay, where are they at, or are they there? Unfortunately, it's a frustrating point, I'm sure from your perspective, but within the controls and the authority that we have in working with the sheriff, this is unfortunately all that we can do. Otherwise, you know, it's contacting, you know, seeing if any of the state legislators will pick it up. You know, some of them are good, some of them you'll get a canned response back from their aides in no time flat, as if, you know, did they even read this thing, or was it, you know, Staples easy button said send. So, I mean, I would encourage you, keep engaged with us if there's additional concerns. It's what we're here for, and we'll work to address them as best as we can.
I am somewhat curious, and I know that you really don't know the answer, is how many people use that as a shortcut to come
we
up.
don't
No, I know you don't,
Yeah.
because you sort of look to see if you recognize these cars.
Sure.
You know,
Pretty high.
because they come out, if they're heading down toward Columbus Road, they avoid that stop sign, or the stoplight there at 55th Middle Branch.
The one
Yep.
problem we have, cities have different laws
Sure.
than townships, as we just did on a posting of a speed limit that we wanted at 50. We're not allowed to do certain things.
Well, I understand
That's
that,
part of
and
the law.
15 is pretty slow, and
But that's a
25 is
14-foot wide alley is what that
Right,
was, what we
yeah.
were trying to do. Yeah.
And speaking of the township of things, the litter on that's right, west side of Middle Branch, south of 55th Street, and that ditch is horrendous. So you're going down below,
Over
behind
by
Norwood Hills?
Tulip and Gadiola.
Norwood Hills.
Yeah.
Norwood Hills.
But if you ride a bicycle down there, you need to ride a bicycle around the township. You
Oh,
get a great look at what's down there.
I ride more frequently than, no, and the staff will tell you, because whether it's road complaints or zoning typically is the one that ends up getting the brunt end of my messages on the weekend. It is, you know, probably not so much on Middle Branch or Easton, just due to the traffic and speeding, given I was hit and run victim at 16. I have no desire of, you know.
Middle Branch, Easton, those aren't maintained by us. Those are maintained by Stark County engineers.
Oh,
So we
okay.
don't really have any say so.
But
We
can
can talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's their main.
Dave, and actually Dave Torrance, who's the second in charge of the county engineer's office, is a township
Yeah, he lives in.
resident, so he's been pretty responsive to anything that we've got going on, so.
Yeah, well, you see stuff like 5-gallon buckets and that kind of stuff.
Because a couple of those yards,
Tires.
just
People
south
use
of
it as a dump.
55th, on the west side of Middle Branch, there's those fences on the back side of a couple of them, and I think from past experience, that's probably where it's been worse.
Yeah, well,
Off and on.
it's got the deep ditch there, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't be out maintaining that on your own as if it were a flat piece behind your property. And, you know, it's down there. I understand people really don't want to crawl down in there, especially because the weeds get high. I'm sure there's mosquitoes and everything else, so.
On occasion, I mean, if there's ever, you know, like a jail trash pickup patrol, I don't know if that's, or we get in with some of these local scouting groups that reach out for community projects and so forth, then.
Well, that wouldn't be a tough one because you'd have to have the road, you'd have to make that safer enough zone for them to be down in there. And I understand that as well.
So, anything else?
I think those are my 2 cents, other than I do want to congratulate you on passing the park study. Very happy to see that.
We're happy as well. It's our Parks Director's not here, but he and his team done a good job, and it's one of those things where we legitimately don't like to come to the public and ask for resources unless absolutely need to, but the old means of, hey, when there was a state tax dollars that were phased out in 2013, bed tax that's been significantly reduced due to COVID, you know, either the opportunity to just maintain them is gonna require X. And, you know, the first time we'd ask for a little more, looking at, you know, future investment, we heard the community say, no, that's not the level that we want, so scale it back to still being able to maintain the 3 beautiful properties that we have. Plus, Parks Crew actually does quite a bit with our nuisance abatement properties, as well as the building grounds for entire property, so we appreciate the public support on it as well.
Yeah, thanks for those words.
You're welcome.
It was a group effort, believe me.
Well, it was, and I did my own sort of grassroots, just talking to my neighbors and encouraging them, because it wasn't a really well-publicized issue. And a lot of people said, I wasn't even gonna go bother to vote because I don't think there's anything for it. And I said, you wanna get down there, you wanna vote for it. You may not think you're gonna use it, but you may. And somebody said, well, yeah, the splash pad's gonna be open, right, this year? And I said, well, yeah. Well, we have a grandchild now old enough to go use the splash pad. Could not use it last year, obviously. Never really thought about the fact that that's going to be under the levy, and
Correct.
it could have been just disappeared.
Yeah, that levy totally covers operational issues.
Yeah.
So the maintenance and the upkeep and, you know, whatever the costs we have for those types of features that we offer, but otherwise.
The water bill over there is anywhere from between $5,500 and $7,000 a month
Yeah.
Really?
to run that. So, I mean, on the front end, prior to the levy, oh, hey, this is great. Well, we get that it's still great, but I mean, that's one of those things where we gotta start picking and choosing what gets funded, what doesn't. I get it in the middle, but if we don't have the money, we're not gonna, you know, try to poach it from somewhere else. And to the point, just on communications, you know, we always look to I know the repository gave us 3 articles, 2 front page, and like 7 letters to the editor, but unfortunately, the reading rate of whether it's hard copy or online, and then, you know, social media, radio, again, if you don't use social media, you're not gonna see it, radio. And then, you know, we did send out in our quarterly newsletter a feature on it, and unfortunately, I still know, you know, some folks, I typically just throw that away or recycle that. Well, I don't know how, I mean, we don't try to sneak it by, it's never our intention, because we're stewards of the community's money, and
Right.
our goal is always to make the business case. It's up to the public to determine what level of service they want. We were fortunate that, you know, the positive affirmation, you know, part of our conversation challenge really was, you know, start parks just throughout the entire county, and everybody has this belief that, oh, well, let's start. No, it's not. We get $0 from them for maintaining anything. And honestly, there in the past has been a little bit of a rub there. Like, I can't believe you guys are going to go ask. We have to take care of our own. You know, you've got to stand on your own as well. So.
Well, I think people really just, I don't think it really crosses their mind.
If it's not a major, whether it's
It's
a
not
governor,
fire.
or president, or
Right, or it's not a
Safety.
fire levy, or, police levy, then they get a little more attention, because if their house catches fire, they'd like somebody to come and do something about it. But the parks, I'm on the Facebook page and trying to communicate with people about who covers what it's a little scary about
it's-
what people's perception is of where the dollars come from. And how much they want me to pay $42 to support the parks and I don't use them. Well, yeah, but you know, when you go to sell your house, if you figure out that parks are part of what people look at when they're moving in, you're gonna sacrifice a lot more than $42 or whatever it is.
And Rich can speak to that. I mean, in all the developments, whether it's Saratoga Hills, Wicker Creek, fountains at Edgewood, every last one of them has some type of parks, trail, accessibility.
You hit it right in the head. It makes a difference. In the sale of your house, whether you use that park or not. Whether you sell that house.
Well, because you don't know who that owner is going to
Yeah,
be.
you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
They want to be in those communities.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stop tying up for Tuesday night. I'm gonna let Mr. Williams get out of here. But, you know, it's like one opportunity I have to speak, Mr. Williams. I'm usually pretty quiet.
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, do you wish to speak to the board? If you would, just state your name and address for fiscal officer.
Yep. Bill Anderson, 5061 Tanglewood Drive. And what I'm here, I don't know if this is appropriate or the right place to be bringing it up, but a lot of our neighbors have a lot of concern about the fact that Skyline is closing on the 6th of September, and that we're hearing that now the Amazon building is going to be like 1 million square feet. I don't know where they're hearing it from, the reliable sources they claim, people who work there, stuff like that. And we're just concerned about what's going to be happening up there as far as all the noise, the pollution, everything that's going to go along with this, something that size. Traffic, you know, supposedly it's coming in off of 62, so that'll alleviate a lot of that, but you're still going to have a lot of traffic out that way because of this. And I've talked to other people, like, I don't even know if this is the right place, like I said, whether it's for more information, if everybody wants to find more information over there, should they be talking to you guys, Stark County, state?
I would tell you probably that, this is my opinion, so anybody else chime in. The two best options for information on that, because that property is the city of Canton, would be to reach out to the city to, you know, public records request on any development plans and so forth. That way, you can see, you know, ultimately, Amazon or whoever's going to develop that for the tenant has to submit plans. So it should be like the city planning commission. There still need to be something that's the regional planning level, regardless
Oh,
of.
absolutely.
Yes.
So Stark County Regional Planning, those would probably be the 2 points that I would recommend going to. Understanding, just in trying to draw some parallels with our township process, and I don't know if the city is exactly the same, but you know, those plans go before regional planning. Regional planning reviews them and says, yes, this is great, we recommend it for approval, or we don't recommend it for approval. That gets passed along really as an opinion to the city, and then the city council's planning commission or board, I'm not sure what that setup is, they would then review it. They would take into account what the regional planning commission says, and then ultimately the city can say, we can green light it, we can thumbs down, or hey, they're going to approve it with modification to it. So I know in the past where like we've reached out on different things, it's been a lukewarm reception. The best thing, you know, outside of Plain Township leadership calling and reaching out to the city council representatives really is for, as well, you and the other residents to just call the city councilman, whose ward that would be, and I'm not sure who that is. I think that's Ward 6.
Maybe.
That's Ward 6.
Yeah.
Well, talking, I'll see if I can find it. But then hitting a, you know, city planning commission is where most of the emphasis would be, because they're going to be the one who approves it. So, you know, for example, where citizen impact can make a difference. Not too far from Skyland, the Central Allied piece that's being quarried right now, that was city property. Well, we have a number of folks that live in Robin Hood Acres, Sherwood Village, Canterbury Creek, and along Harmont that, you know, said, hey, the noise from the trucks, you got the amount of dirt and grime on the road constantly, and Central Allied now, Shelley, you know, with some conversation, they agreed to do the mounding. I don't know if there's trees on, I think it's just mounding at this point. But I'm saying all that can listen, but, you know, just because, well, hey, can you guys call because you're the trustee? That helps, but again, there's still power and influence in the volume of people. And when I say volume, it's not, you know, you having to call, you know, 3 times a day talking to, you know, maybe the same person or 3 different people, but, you know, they're gonna have to take a look and go, okay, yeah, we've got a number of residents in the surrounding area that we're hearing from. Now, if their leadership's good, they'll definitely take it into account, but, you know, I'm willing to bet some of it will be partially discounted because, well, hey, that's Plain Township, we don't have to worry about that. So just dynamics and elements that are at play, but City Planning Commission, Regional Planning, those would be the 2 entities we would go after there. I know, I've heard again, I think all of us only have secondhand information. Nobody here's seen or received anything in detail.
I understand it because you're talking about money involved and the company involved, but.
Yeah, but I've heard it was direct access off of 62 is what, as well.
So that's a long process, I understand that, to build a ramp off and on there. But, you know, this is literally in our backyards, and the banquet center was supposed to be separate from that, but we're understanding now that the banquet center, which is in Plain Township, is gonna be part of
The entire, all of Skyland Pines is within the city.
Right now, anything that's on the golf course, anywhere on the golf course, that's within the Kansas
That's
City.
the sky, that's the banquet center, the driving,
Yeah,
driving range would
yeah.
probably go anyhow, but the banquet center would be on there, it would be intact.
Yeah, the only thing is-
Actually, the banquet center is the reason it's in the city, because the only way they could get a liquor license in the old days was to go into the city. So they started off at Columbus Road with a very narrow piece of property directly across from the jail. And it ran up to the golf course and then just exploded from there. And then for the longest time, there was a strip along Kirby that was in the township. And as a matter of fact, that just went into the city a month ago.
Well, you guys were talking about, you know, parks and everything, but that's, you know, that's a green space right there that's gonna be gone forever. And, I don't know, a lot of people, and also you're talking about property values, you know, as far as the roads and all that go, but that's gonna be a big hit in the property values in that neighborhood up there. Because I don't know how widespread it is right now. My neighbor just sold his house. Every house, people are talking about it. So I don't know what's gonna happen in the long run, because it depends on what kind of neighbors they are and what they do to keep the sound down and keep the traffic down. But it's not a positive. I don't know what Plain Township is gonna benefit from it. I mean, I have no idea there. It sounds to me like, since it's Canton, most of the taxes and everything are gonna be going to Canton.
All of them.
And I'm sure there's a pretty huge tax abatement for the property too, to put something in like that. And I just don't know, you know, if they think they're gonna, you'll have some people hired from around here, but I don't know how much difference it's gonna make as far as the employment rate with the jobs. I know those are, I used to drive for FedEx, those jobs, the driving jobs they're not that great if you don't own the route. I own the route, so as a driver, you're under a lot of pressure, you read about it all the time. They're constantly monitored, so I don't know who's gonna want that job in the long run. So I don't know, it's just, I don't think it's not been talked about publicly. Nobody wants to admit to anything as far as the city goes. I've called them too, they have no idea. So it's just.
And unfortunately, I want to call it the BS flag on that, because quite frankly, they wouldn't have had that rezoning request. What was it, just 2 months, 3 months?
Right, it wasn't that
You
long.
don't, typically you don't go rezone property just for it. There's an opportunity that's sitting there that initiates the process.
Yeah, light industrial for
Yeah.
future use. And, well,
Yeah.
there you go, here we are now, we're 2 months away past Labor Day and it's gonna be done, it's pretty much done.
Kevin Hall is the Ward 6 councilman that would encompass that. So just for his information's on the Canton City website. But I know, I don't want to speak ill, but I've tried reaching out to it myself before, and I've never gotten a response. So again, that's why I say Canton City planning, regional planning, and then, you know, I would still hit them up.
What we talk about all the time down over there, I don't understand what, if they're so gung-ho on finishing Route 30, there's so much property down there and such easier access, Route 30, east and west, than there is, you know, they don't have to build a ramp. We don't understand why they even had to go to this route, but I know I've been reading more, we've been reading more and more about how they're building in neighborhoods, because they have to, you know, that's their, what do you call it, the business plans now, so. But I was just curious if there was any more information about that, and I didn't know if you guys would be the right place to come to find out.
It's good that you come, but unfortunately, you can always call into the office, whether it's the zoning office or administration will likely put you over to the zoning, see if there's anything new. The city's not obligated to share anything with us, but I'm not sure if their process is the same as ours. And that, you know, well, actually, since the rezoning's already been had, that's when the notification would have went out to any adjoining property owners to show up. I mean, even for us, if anything was to be developed on the fringe of the township and it would have butt, say, Lake Township or Jackson, we would still have a legal responsibility to send notice to those adjoining properties.
We have to send to every property that touches.
Yeah, the statute
So-
speaks in terms of contiguity,
Yeah.
not what
Political
municipality it's in,
subject,
yeah.
I mean, I think it would lay a lot of, alleviate a lot of, you know, thoughts about it if they knew really what was going on, and what are they gonna do to make it a situation where we can live together up there? I don't know.
And I think I would, right out of the gates, be pressing for bounding and landscaping.
Oh, that's-
Noise type.
That's the absolute least that
Least,
you
yeah.
would want to.
Yeah,
There's
that's
water,
why-
there's water
just-
that's coming
yeah.
off of a massive concrete
Yeah.
pad up
Oh,
there.
absolutely, you would want
The
to
drainage.
definitely be
The
looking
drainage has
at.
been a problem up there for a long time coming
Yeah.
off the golf course, because it comes right in our backyard. We've had to, you know, redo our yard and put things in the drainage that we wouldn't have normally had to do, but it's only gonna be worse if they don't make allowances for it, which I would hope they do. They have the money to do it, so hopefully if that's gonna be what happens, that they do it right. You know, because we pay our taxes out there for 28 years, and, you know, then all of a sudden, and what we thought it was is, you know, pretty much gonna be over with them in our backyard, so. So I'll try that route, I'll go see if I can find out any more information from regional or city. See if they can, I don't think they'll wanna tell you anything.
Well, I
It's
just
still September 6th, when it's probably gonna get to be, at some point, too late to say anything about it.
which I would tell, outside of having a conversation, put stuff in writing to, I know it takes time, but the beautiful part of that is it's a public record, and if, it'd be no different than you mailing any of us going, hey, I want to make a public records request for site development plans related with X address or parcel. Legally, they absolutely have a responsibility to produce it. Not, oh, well, no, there's really nothing out there. They can't be hoodwinked, because at the end of the day, you know, they may drag their feet on getting it to you, but sure, our law director could even say, there's a reasonable time that has to be produced, and knowing, you know, the timetable of the project and where all that stuff is, that's not something where, hey, 30, 60 days later, that's not gonna fly. And providing that, then there's legal ramifications, you know, they would be opening themselves to. So outside of having the conversation, so nothing gets lost in context of an email, I'd have that phone conversation, I'd still be following and writing, you know, restating my questions, maybe even summarizing, hey, here was my understanding from what you said, can you verify that, you know.
Does Plain Township have an interest in that happening up there?
We have, I mean, from it.
I think it's gonna be more of a problem for Plain Township with everything, the traffic and everything else that's gonna be going on.
Well, the traffic on the 62, that's ODOT, So
Right.
we have zero, I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked the fact that they were even gonna be able to get access off of 62.
Yeah,
So
that is.
ODOT typically does not come off, Joe can speak to that, come off that easy, so.
Well, we were worried about Kirby Avenue too.
Yeah.
If we were to use that.
Well, there's talk that it's gonna be mainly towards the Kirby side, so I don't know if that's true or not, nobody knows.
Okay.
This recent annexation, they said he took half of Kirby out of it right now, so. they're
I
still
thought
working on that.
that cleaned up to the street. Was it to the center line? Okay, that's right.
I mean, I'm thinking the only place the access can come in is to the Alliance side of the road township part. Otherwise, they're going right through a lot of industry, a lot of buildings and properties, and it's gotta be down there where there is nothing. So, like, further on past the sheriff's department.
Any plans coming through would go through their planning commission for approval. They have public notices for their planning commission on what's coming up. So you might attend that and you can voice your opinion.
Well, I think there's,
If they haven't already done it.
and the way to go, then there's, there's probably a lot of people who would like to voice their opinion.
And again, just talking out loud here, the fact that it's been rezoned already, if a plan's now actually submitted for that property, for that structure, they wouldn't, trying to apply similar to township law, they wouldn't technically have to do a public hearing on that if it's something that fits within the zoning
Well,
that's already been.
normally your industrial or your developments, your housing developments will go through the planning commission for approval.
But what I'm saying is, when something's rezoned, and all of the adjoining property owners have to be notified of that rezoning, okay, they're getting notice there, but now when it comes to the actual plan for whatever that, let's say it's a new store called Kmart or whatever, and put it, if that area is already zoned for that use, really then the planning commission would only have to,
Approve the
review,
plans.
and would require notice to the adjoining property owners on something like that.
No, not adjoining, this would be public notice
Yeah.
for the meeting is what I was
Okay.
speaking to.
Yeah, but what would start to complicate the process is who owns the property that's presenting the plan? And, at some point in time, that property's gonna have to sell for somebody else to, if I'm listening to something and I know that the owner is presenting the plan, but they're not gonna own it in 10 days, I'm probably not gonna vote for something like that, not knowing that I'm working with the people that aren't even gonna own it in 10 days. Does that make sense?
Well, our planning commission, our zoning commission,
We had a couple
it does
conditional.
see items that come through for people who would like to build on a piece of property they don't own.
But that's different because we know that it's gonna be those people we're gonna be working with if that happens.
Okay.
Well, the same company that did all the surveying out there and all that kind of stuff is the same company that did the Bramble Park Mall, did the Rolling Acres Mall. So it's pretty,
Other Amazon
other
sites.
Amazon projects, yeah. So, there was some question whether it was gonna be Amazon or whether it was gonna be another rock quarry, which, I know, what's the lesser of two evils? I guess is Amazon, instead of having a rock,
Which that quarry, I think the folks there said there's another 15, 20 years of, that's what I've heard, 15 to 20 years of.
That was going over there too,
Oh,
at
really?
first.
I gotta think there's way more, what do they call that? Overburden,
Yeah.
to even get to the point of doing it, it's a lot higher elevation there than where they are right now, so, but, I just hope they'll be good neighbors, that's the only thing you can do, and if you're talking about how it's so hard to get ODOT to approve everything, then this goes way up higher.
Oh, this would indeed, at some point, given the tax incentives, the likelihood is, on a project that big, the state's got some level of involvement, but, at the local level, it would be the Stark Development Board, because typically they're putting together the packages, but knowing how huge Amazon is, they may have had somebody that went straight to the state, and then, you know, locally, folks get roped in, but
Yeah, I don't know what the tax abatement is gonna be, but for a lot of $17, $18 an hour jobs, it's gonna take a lot of those to cover. Because there's not gonna be, there'll be a few higher ups there, but it's gonna be mostly people loading and unloading and sorting and driving. That's what's gonna be there. It's not a headquarters or anything like that. But, yeah, thanks for your information. I'll try to see what we can do and find out more information on our end. Okay?
Thank you.
thank you for your
Sure.
time, Bill.
Thank you.
Anybody else that wishes to speak, public speaks? Okay, that will conclude public speaks. And let's go back to the agenda here. We've got the approval of the minutes for June 22nd, 2021. I will so move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. Then I'll move on the approval of the special minutes for June 29th. Well, that's right, because there's only one.
Yeah, that's the one I removed.
Gotcha. Okay, we do have a need for executive session, so I'll make a motion to be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:06 PM from this regular meeting as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of consideration of 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 3, a conference with the law director or other retained counsel concerning pending or imminent court action.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.